I've said before that I stumble across headlines from time to time, and I say to myself, this has to be satire. This has to be The Onion. There's no way this is really happening in 2024. That's how I felt earlier today when I stumbled across a story about a Florida school banning dictionaries. Yeah, you heard me correctly, dictionaries. They have banned 5 dictionaries, 8 encyclopedias, the Guinness Book of World Records, the biographies of Beyonce and Oprah, Anne Frank's diary, and the autobiography of Malcolm X. They're being held for review, they say. No news on when they might be re-released, but they're just being held for review because of Florida's latest sexual laws that's been put in place. The laws on sexual education. So they're going to review these books and see if anything goes against those laws, and they'll let us know when they'll put them back on the shelf, I guess. But a dictionary was one of those books. Now, what's funny is I was a poor hillbilly from southeast Kentucky, and I remember back in high school reading Malcolm X. Do you know why I read Malcolm X? Because I wanted to hear his side of the story. I had heard our side of the story, and I was raised up on a lot of untruths that I had to figure out later on in life. I got told when I was growing up that it was about states' rights and that it was the war for Southern independence. That's one that people around here love to say. It wasn't about slavery. It was the war for Southern independence. And I always said to myself, well, I'd like to hear the other side of this story and see how other people felt about this. And Malcolm X was always a fascinating character to me that I wanted to go, hey, what was on his mind? And I checked that book out and read it. And I always was interested in the Guinness Book of World Records. I always had one of those in my locker. I was always fascinated by that. And I always had a dictionary. You know why? Because I wanted to be able to go look up the meaning of words. I have a question for y'all. How is the dictionary Democrat or Republican? How is the dictionary liberal or conservative, or atheist or Christian, or black or white, or gay or straight? The dictionary is a book that defines words. And we should all be able to go look up the meaning of a word in a dictionary, regardless of where we fall on the political spectrum. The dictionary is universal. It applies to everybody, and it's true. That's the definition of the words. That's where you go to find out what they mean. So they're reviewing dictionaries, so are they going to go through there and find words that makes them uncomfortable? Are they going to take them out? Are they going to redefine them? I don't know. I'm not making any accusations here. I'm just asking questions. Are they going to redefine certain words that they don't like the sound of? Because we know they've tried to say that slavery was helpful to black people. It helped them to get carpentry skills. So are they going to see that word in the dictionary and suddenly be like, yeah, let's change that one, or let's just leave that one out? Are they going to see certain words about sexual orientation that makes them uncomfortable and they want to take them out and redefine them? I never thought I would live in a world where a dictionary would be considered to be held for review. Now, back in high school, I read all sorts of books. I had all sorts of books in my locker. As a matter of fact, I read so many different books, I got called to the counselor's office over it because they thought I was weird. They was like, why are you reading all these different books? And I said, because I want to hear all the sides of the story, and because I want to have a better understanding of things. And because there's things in the U.S. history book, the textbook, that isn't, there's stuff that's not there that I want to find out more about. I remember vividly talking about, hey, we have never studied Vietnam, but we didn't back then. In my U.S. history class in high school in the 90s, we never made it to Vietnam. We never studied that far. We would always start with Columbus. We would start there. We would come up with, the founding fathers. We would work our way up to about World War I or II, and we would always pump the brakes and stop. I had a history teacher who I used to say to, I'd be like, hey, are we ever going to study Vietnam? And he'd say, we'll get that next year. We'll get to that next year. Finally, when it was my last year in this guy's class, and I took that class even when I didn't need it. I didn't even need the credit. I just took it again because I liked it. And finally, he says to me, I'm just going to tell you the truth. They won't let me teach you about Vietnam. So he told me some books that I could go read in the library, and I went and checked them out. And I'm sure along the way, while I was reading these books, there was times that I needed a dictionary, and I looked up that. And we live in a world in 2024 where Ron DeSantis in Florida is doing their best impression of 1930s Germany. And we got people saying, yeah, that would be cool to have that on the national stage. Well, let's bring old Ron DeSantis up and put him on the big stage. We need more of Florida in America. There's people that actually buys into that, and they're the same people that for years told me that if we ever had free health care in this country, well, that's socialism, that'll lead us to communism. If we ever have free education in this country, oh no, we can't have that because that would lead to, that's socialism, that would lead to communism, that'll lead to a dictator, they said. And now, they're trying to ban dictionaries and encyclopedias and the Guinness Book of Records. And they got a front runner who says he wants to be the dictator on day one, and they're cool with it. You know, I think they would have been a lot better off to just go ahead and have the health care and have the education. I mean, we could have at least had that before the country circled the drain. But yeah, in 2024, Florida is reviewing dictionaries. It's hard telling what'll come next. But yeah, when you stumble across these stories, you say to yourself, there's no way that's real. And then you dig a little bit deeper, and when you realize it is real, well, it should scare the living hell out of anybody with a voice of reason inside them.